They say all things must come to an end. And so, not only does the season of the FF1600s come to an end, as it always does on a Week 12, but so does the end of a bit of a run for my life and my career. And this is certainly a bit of a wacky and wild place to put it. Welcome to Maconi Entertainment's coverage of the Formula 1600 SOF series, where we are taking it to not just any Watkins Glen, but the sort of Watkins Glen that resembles an oval. One last time, I'm Harry Burrows alongside Ron Mons, and you've already watched one run of these cars around here. This is not the track we remember from last season, Ron.
Yeah, no, this is truly the Watkins Glen. I think this is going to be a rather hectic race, though, if I am honest. On the Formula 4 just the other day, even though we had a slightly smaller grid compared to usual Weekend Warriors races, it was quite chaotic. Lots of racers running into some trouble. Lots of racers utilizing the rather relaxed track limits here on this racetrack as well. I will say this, and this is honest, I know the iRacing season structure is rather rigid. Occasionally they do bump up to 14 full weeks in an iRacing season, but we're on our usual 13 right now. I kind of wish that the season ran just a bit longer, because if this broadcast happened in just about 2 weeks' time, I'd be able to drink for this, which I think may be required.
You were saving that one, and you know what? That was a great one to save. I mean, I think it is going to be the Thunderdome around here. This track is already a bit of a draft train as it is, but those ultra-wide track limits on turn one, they're brutal. They can catch you. Watch going into the chicane here, the inner loop as they call it. No big jump, just take as much of that as you want on the inside. Slide on that. Watch out for those very strange 3D perforated curves. They've got a divot down the middle. So if you ride too much over, half the car just ends up floating in midair. Go as wide as you can on the exit here. Stock cars love it around here. I've never seen an open wheel do it in my life.
And you know, actually, on the subject of that, one of my favorite iRacing combinations is running this track in a different Formula car, the Formula 3s. And that is just about as insane of a race as you can imagine it is. If you had fixed setups and limited the power too, that would be absolutely monstrous. And it would probably result in some rather monstrous collisions as well. But no, I think this track is, it's fun. The NASCARs have a good time here. I think open wheel cars would have a good time. I think the insurance liability is just a bit too high to run an event like this in real life. But hey, we've got it in a sim. Looking forward to what's going to be a very hectic day for all of these races up and down the grid as we try and end off what has been overall, through the controversy and the chaos at some points in time, it's been a rather fun season. We've had some good races sprinkled in through the ones where everybody wants to try and kill each other.
There have been some real classics. I'm actually going to remember the wet race at Lebanon above almost all the others. I think there was some incredible driver skill on display here. One more driver hitting the track for the last time around, Frederick Surley with FILMBIL.NO. That's the last time I say thank you this season, and maybe for a long time. But a lot of the classic names are out here. Not seen Thomas Fleming for a few weeks. Now trying to throw that car up the S's. These laps are going to go by quickly. 1 minute 19 is our fastest from Fraser Smith, and that's in clear air. A few classics, though, coming in. Dana Brown's here, Jason Chen is here, Matt Kendall's here, Ian Griffith, Timothy Parker, Russell, Tom Bland. It's almost all those that you do like to see around it. Even good old Dario Frattini, who sets one of the fastest laps on the first go around. You might not recognize the name terribly much, but certainly an absolute staple of the Skip Barber community. And now the LMP3, which is the best car in iRacing, and I'm not saying that just to count on his good side.
See, you know, I'm actually going to clap back on that somewhat, because we were joking before the broadcast started about my own time covering Radical SR10s in the official series here on iRacing, and you made a joke about the SR8 being better than the SR10. The LMP3 is pretty much just like the Radical SR10 with a bit more power and a bit more carbon fiber, so I am going to clap back on that there, Howie.
I said I miss the SR8. I miss having a free card to throw around the track. That was an important difference. You're going to convince me to jump in that thing now. You're going to convince me to jump in that thing now. I'm going to be a danger. I won't make your broadcaster, I promise that. But that car has some magic prototype energy all over it. Only a few drivers left to run around laps. Dario's going to do a second. Was fastest first time around. Can run a lot wider on exit here, but it's not fast. You see how that curve, you can ride the middle of it and your wheels are basically not touching anything. He's got one more attempt around in, and we'll keep an eye on James Becker and Thomas Fleming's laps. Those are the last two drives that are going to make an impact coming across the line. Dario Frattini doesn't look like it's an improvement for him. He's going to stay at P4. James Becker's first lap first lap wasn't valid, I don't think, and the second one is only P10. Look how wide you can go. Who actually knows what's faster around here, to be totally honest? Thomas Fleming's going to be doing the first time lap. He hit the road quite late. Maybe he just does it in order to give me a little bit more to talk about during these races. Maybe he does indeed. You can go wide on that last turn, but he got caught out by the curb there. That's going to slow him, and he's only going to get one more shot at this.
Yeah, so let's see what he can do as he comes across the line. Duda got to keep note about that curb on the outside of the second to last turn, because with the preparations, with the 3D curbs that we've got here on this version of the Glen, that is... I could probably best compare it as to being a big pogo stick for these cars. So many a racer in the Weekend Warriors just the other day pop up in the air, hop, skip, and a jump, which is kind of cool to look on the air, but as someone who got yanked out of his own karting career because of back pain, I can let you know that that's not a pleasurable experience. Looking at Fleming now heading his way out of the S's onto the back straightaway. I wonder, there's two spots where you can't go side by side, but I have a feeling some racers will try, and that is this here, the bus stop chicane, the inner loop as it's technically called, and also the S's. I think I was covering a Formula 3 broadcast not too long ago here at Watkins, Glen. It was on the full layout with the boot, mind you, and someone tried to go side by side through the S's with another car, and that was a very quick way to turn two fully formed and fully functioning Dallara F3 cars into carbon fiber confetti.
Putting the really high downforce Formula cars here, I always feel is a bit of a recipe for disaster. Everything is very fast about Fleming's lap, and he keeps his tyres on the right side of the curb this time. No matter exactly what I predicted the lap's going to land in, it's going to be a rocket ship that's going to be quite high up, and I don't know if maybe I just got trolled, which would be fitting, actually. As you can see, the finish line isn't quite there. And with a pole pace lap, Thomas Fleming will start from the back. So that's just one fantastic way to round this out with 20 seconds to go. And maybe he does listen in sometimes. So well, there may have been a 0x. Adam Miles thinks that was a 0x on the lap. If he hits a wall, that is going to result in him stopping it. So that's a shame. That was a pole lap in terms of pace, but that rounds out our starting grid. So without all else put aside, let's do this for the last time. For who knows, actually? Maybe for a while, maybe forever. Who truly understands? We have just under 20 cars hitting it. And I didn't set up the 3D grid, but you get what you get. Matt Kendall's the fastest, and Fraser Smith just inches behind. Nado Brown's in P3, Timothy Parker Russell in P4. Dario Frattini takes 5th, and Jason Chen takes 6th. Tom Bland is 7th, Frederick Surley is 8th. Graham Robbie Hunt is 9th, and James Becker is 10th.
Yeah, then looking through the rest of the field, we got David Haynes starting this race in P11. Aldous Paulus starting this race in P12, looking right behind, and lucky number P13 is Ian Griffiths. Right alongside him is Ian Anderson starting in 14th. Kyle Morby will start in 15th. Alongside him will be Xavier Locht with Thomas Fleming and Max Edmondson. Completing your field will be interesting to see what Fleming can do in that number 5 car. Multi-time race winner already throughout this season, already shows some good pace in these Formula Fords. Certainly showed some pace in qualifying, so let's see what sort of drama we're going to get here in this race. It's very easy to get some moves done, both by utilizing some fantastic overtaking opportunities and picking your way through the smoke and the dust when all hell tends to break loose here.
All hell can break loose. I'd call this the Thunderdome of circuits, to be honest. It's certainly one where your elbows are going to get out at all opportunities. I'm not quite sure what's happened to the overlay, so we'll do our best to hang on for dear life without it. We'll do our best to hang on for dear life without it for as long as possible, because we have a starting grid still waiting to grid and basically buying me as much time as possible, really, which you could say I appreciate in its own way. Oh, tell me it's going to happen. Tell me it's going to happen here. Well, we have a race to get going, and I'll make sure to call it as much as I can along the way. There's Ron's harmonica, and that basically means it's the green flag. Away we go. It's Kendall and Smith on the start, and Kendall cuts over. Now, let's take a look at how this turn 1 is taken. is it actually beneficial to go wide while a lot of drivers try, but a few others stay closer? It's a 1-2 up front, and NATO Brown hasn't made up the pace. They go flying up the S's. Oh, make that 18 loud, Formula 4. Just seems like the perfect track for these things in real life, really. NATO Brown's going to make it 3 wide, though. There's going to be a lot of draft runs all race, and these cars are very, very vulnerable to it, and I think NATO's going to slip on through. Here comes that inner loop. Everyone can cut the inside, take a nice clean road through and out. Almost 3-4 wide near the back here. This is Frederick Surley tied up near quite a few drivers. There's Becker nearby, there's Fleming nearby, there's Rory Hunt, there's Ian Anderson. The Iron Brew car, don't we ever forget. Here comes the field now through the outer loop and through the last few turns.
Yeah, and this long back flat-out blast here on this lap. We talk about the runoff area heading down to turn number 1, trying to keep the momentum rolling and running it all the way out to the safer barrier. But keep an eye as they head their way out of the carousel, out of the outer loop. See what the racers are going to do with the runoff area there. That'll be rather fascinating throughout this race, but NATO Braun still running in a good spot up at the race lead. It is still a pack of Formula Fords right behind side-by-side racing with a lot of different racers. Jason Shen, who showed a whole lot of pace just the other day in the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors race. Keep an eye on him to maybe impress here in this race today.
Up the hill we go. Frattini and Parker Russell going side by side. Expect Fraser to be able to make a slingshot here, and Matt Kendall, but making the lead to first. I think Fraser actually did get the pace. You might sometimes do choose to back out of it because you're going to get so many chances. 16 laps around this track. You don't have to take every single slingshot into lead, and we're not going to celebrate every single one. Something has indeed happened. That's James Becker. That's what the noise was for?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. My untimely constipation was for that moment with James Becker. I was just going to note that lap 2 is actually the point where a lot of drama can take place. Certainly happened the same with the Weekend Warriors, and it was contact made with Becker as he headed his way off through the inner loop, trying to figure out exactly who that was that he made contact with. Was that Anderson?
That was Tom Bland. Just a little bit of contact running side by side through there. It's hard to recognize because everyone's running the same Dunkersaw paint. And I liked it when it was dark blue. I'll just say that. I very much liked it when it was dark blue. So that Kendall gets away by half a second for a lap. I doubt you pull it away unless you're an absolute rocket ship. Everyone usually runs the highest gear stack around here, which means the speed down here becomes quite legendary. It's one of the only ways to really influence your top speed in this car. We're looking just a little bit further back at the pack that begins with Tom Bland. He had that contact with Becker earlier. I think one or two other drivers split back, David Haynes and Kyle Morby too. Up front, I think they're taking it a little easy. Thomas Fleming from the back to the front, I think indeed there. He's made it up to P3 very, very quickly, just cutting through drivers. So it's about being right time, right place, I think. Surly on the outside here is going to get passed by Rory Hunt as they're not running wide on the exit there. I don't know whether it's just instinct or whether they think they're speeding that line. Who really knows what the fastest line is here? Obviously, the wide track limits are to accommodate for unmaneuverable stock cars. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the fastest way around the track.
And you know, you briefly touched on it there, Howie, but I think a lot of truth is said in just talking about racers maybe not knowing that they can run it all the way out to the wall and just go completely the other side of the white lines around this racetrack. I know sometimes for me, at least in terms of racing situations, when I'm driving a car with a lot of grip, a lot of downforce, and maybe with a lot of power, I need to remember that I can go through these turns with a lot of muscle and not have to worry about the car not sticking because it'll just be able to do that. Here on this racetrack, I think some of these racers still have to come to grips with the fact they're running around a NASCAR-style track with NASCAR-style track limits, so you could just run it at 10/10ths, run it all the way out to the fence, and all you're going to get is a bunch of Sky Sports commentators complaining about that on a practice session for a Circuit of the Americas race back in 2019. No, I will not get over that. Of course, Indy cars can't make the second-to-last turn there like an F1 car can. They don't have anywhere near as engineer. I'm still salty about David Croft, you pompous.
They touched Martin. They touched Martin. I'll just put it like that and I'll leave it there. I mean, COTA is one of those tracks with evil track limits in iRacing, and it's actually, they changed the track limit after the season was submitted for this. They were widened out after we suggested cut. I'm one of the reasons we have cut. My argument was that we are not cutting out that chicane. I think it would just lead to even more madness down the straight. Let me put it like that. The pack remains pretty close. Nado Brown is the one that sort of risks dropping off the back of it, though, in the 16. Tom Bland's now going to pass up on the inside. It's Jason Chen with the fastest lap. I think 6/10 is enough that you don't really get the same benefit. The top four will be drafting off each other. Earlier this season, Skip Barbers went to a version of Watkins Glen, and it was very similar. It became which packs stay up near the front. Make it 3 wide, baby. Matt Kendall stays back, but that is them fanning out. There's space for 4 all the way down that straight if they get desperate later. I think Dario's going to potentially lead coming out. Very close with Fleming. He does make it.
If I see these racers go 4 wide on the back straightaway, I'm going to close my eyes for the following 15 seconds because I feel like when I reopen them, I'm going to see a car upside down. Side-by-side racing still going on with Fleming and Frattini as they headed their way off through the carousel. Now here's a choke point. That grass comes out rather quickly, and there's a contact being made. I had a feeling something like that was going to take place. That is a natural end to the track limits on the outside of the carousel. You need to rejoin in time before you clip that grass and either lose it into the car that you're side-by-side with, or just lose it on your own straight into the tire bundles. But now looking at the side-by-side racing still going on, will it be 3 wide as Fraser Smith right there in tow with Fleming? They tried to go 3 wide last time. They went 3 wide last time. Haven't seen it hang down the start-finish straightaway yet, but considering we're already seeing racers risk it for the biscuit and go 3 wide, despite the fact we're just barely 7 minutes into this race, I have a feeling we're going to be seeing 3 wide everywhere soon.
Matt Kendall sort of backed out on that start-finish straight if you listen to the engine. No, didn't want to take the slingshot there. Let's see what he does here in the 1 car. We have a 4.3k SOF. 7k Matt Kendall. Jason Chen from the top rope. Turns out you can catch the pack. I knew he got the fastest lap going in, but I was not expecting him to fly in. A few drivers, that's Ian Anderson and Graham Rory Hunt, have taken a bit of contact. They've had to skip that chicane entirely.
Yeah, and I wonder if they had a small little tussle heading into the braking zone. Let's take a look at that. There you can see Ian Anderson in that orange Iron Brew car. There was a contact. That could have very easily ended with Ian Anderson upside down. Very lucky that didn't for the both of them, but still a huge moment for the both of them. I wonder how bad the suspension damage is on those 2 cars. Taking a look at the onboard shot there with Ian Anderson. There is the touch. And holy cow, I am shocked that car didn't go up in the air fully. No meatball.
No meatball.
How? I am.
However,
perplexed.
They both got hit by something else. Black flags for what I presume must be the course cut. That's the only way you can get a black flag under racing conditions without a DQ here in this series. They did cut the chicane. iRacing gives you a tough slowdown. They didn't clear it in time, and both are doing a drive-through in the pits. There's Xavier Lochner's also wrecked the car with a meatball flag. TMP Parker Russell, I'm trying to work out. No, Ian Anderson does show a meatball. Okay, who knows what happened? Lots of things might have just happened there, okay? Oh, a bit of a wobble there from the fall on the outside. Dario Frattini while I try and work that out.
Oh, that was the worst. That was the least of Frattini's problems, I should say, as he headed his way up through the carousel. As he headed his way through the bus stop, I thought that car was going around. He kept it going in a straight line with a clean car, probably not any clean pants, but, you know, he's still out there on the racetrack running firmly inside the top 5, but he finds himself in the midst of a massive hornet's nest of cars. So many cars with the exact same paint scheme. Just looking at that from the rear shot when you can see them all in tow. You know, I had this problem when I was covering the Radicals before they went off to Race Spot and the iRacing channel, when they're still on Apex Racing TV, as I affectionately call it now, PBS Kids. I always had the worry of seeing the exact same cars on the racetrack with the exact same paint schemes. This is going to be a bit of a pain in our hind ends to try and commentate with so many cars with the same paint scheme.
Well, Mons, you're saying anything today, aren't you? You've decided.
Yeah, why not?
You've decided you'll say anything at all. Well, it's your decision to not mine. So I'll just put it like that. A bit of weaving up front from Fraser Smith, Kendall and Frattini. Maybe what may find a way to work together. I'm sure that's the Dunkersaw car. Yes, it is. They've just changed the colouring on it. I remember when it was dark blue, it was very stylish that way. Jason Cheng sort of came from nowhere. Also, even worse, so Parker Russell and Ian Anderson got black flags and meatballs that they got hidden by the black flags. It was very confusing, okay? I'm not clicking on that again. We're not going to work it out because we have too big of a pack race to really commentate. I think now Frederick Surley's last driver in line. Everyone else, obviously, Max Edmondson and Graham Rory Hunt are too far back to make an impact. But further up, I think every driver here can become a part of that chase.
Yeah, all these cars have the pace and the speed and the ability to contend, and considering the amount of chaos that we've already seen in the first 11 minutes of this race, would not be shocked if we have more three-wide shenanigans and drivers going side by side just about everywhere in the remaining 9. Looking at this top 4, though, very strong. Fleming in front of Smith, in front of Kendall, in front of Frattini. All different drivers with very different skills behind the wheel of race cars on iRacing, but still very fast. As always, is looking Fraser Smith keeping up that run, trying to go around the outside of Fleming. Will Kendall try and stick a 3 wide there on the outside, as that's Frederick Sorley chasing his own tail off into the grass right there in the back of the shot as they briefly fanned out 3 wide. Oh, I don't have a good feeling about that. With Nato Braun had a very squirrely approach heading off through the inner loop. He loses out in that spot to Frederick Sorley. The problem with that inner loop, and he experienced in all sorts of different race cars, if you screw up the approach, you are going to be done for the rest of it. So it's pretty much just managed to keep it on the road, keep it out of the barrier if you do mess up the entry.
I think we're seeing a little bit of pushing from these cars. They can do their little bits of if you tap them just right, it is not completely impossible to sort of bump draft them. It's very straight. You really want to be very, very, very careful before you do that. But I'm not telling you it's not possible. Now, this top 4, they've secured their top 4 again. Bland and Chen fallen way back 1.2 seconds. Goes to show what just a little bit of pace difference does around here. Here's Frattini's car in the top 4. Behind a teammate, they may be communicating. Find out how they do this. Go side by side, wants to take the run. So does Fraser. Oh, he's going to duck in and make it 3 wide, isn't he? Oh, he was not going to stay in line whatsoever. Side by side with Fraser. He knew he had the run big enough to easily clean that one up on exit. Further back, Jason Chen overtakes Frederick Surley. Bland shuffled to the back.
Oh, as that's Fraser Smith around all through the carousel.
No.
Oh!
Dead cars.
I think we nearly just had a driver ballpark it.
Dead cars, indeed. It can be an incidental contact, so let's work it out. There are meatballs of multiple drivers. Jason Chen, Frederick Surley. There's the tap. And then, oh, that's a horrible time, horrible place. It's always Frederick Surley. It's up to something, okay? It's always Frederick Surley. It's up to being in some place. I would like to maybe catch a little bit more of what happened. Here's Thomas Fleming's car.
Yeah, I think that, if I'm being honest, that was overly opportunistic for Thomas going for that move off in there. And oh my goodness, that was Frederick Sorley nearly ballparking it. I think I joked about this right as I came into the commentary booth a little bit earlier on this afternoon that I would have been not very surprised if a driver ballparked it here. But we nearly just had that happen with Frederick Sorley. I'll have to take a look at some other angles of that, but that definitely looked a bit more on the iffy end in terms of an attempted overtake heading off into the carousel. Kind of shades of what happened with Shane Van Gisbergen and Chris Buescher back in the NASCAR Cup race a couple of years ago. But even then, you can do that to a certain extent in a NASCAR stock car, being bang and rough each other up. In an open wheel car, any sort of contact is probably going to result in a driver either going around, going airborne, or finding themselves upside down.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the park. 3 cars remain in this chase.
It's crowd!
And it's 2 teammates sandwiching one little Alpine car that isn't going to play along exactly the same way. So it's going to be a challenge and it's going to be a bit of a chase. I think certainly the teammate gloves are going to come off at the end. Let me put it like that.
Yeah, I will correct you there. It's take me out to the ballpark, take me out to the crowd, buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. I don't care if I ever come back.
I'm British.
Root for the home team. Yeah, it's a great American pastime, baseball, which I always thought that the great American pastime was firing off a gun.
I can play it for you if you want on the stream. You've won from 1908 to take me out to the ball game. So I was onto that. Don't know the rest of it.
It was when you said "take me out to the park," it's "take me out to the crowd." That's see, they always call baseball the great American pastime, which I disagree. I have a disagreement with baseball. Oh yeah, we've learned everything wrong. See, I disagree with the fact that baseball is the great American pastime. I love baseball. It's probably my favorite stick and ball sport, personally. But I always thought that the great American pastime was shooting guns.
You would know. You know more than me. You know more than me around here. Let me put it like that. I mean, that's not Philadelphian whatsoever. Here comes Graham Rory Hunt over the front of Nato Brown. Bland's just running on his own, by the way. 2 seconds to the car in front, 2 seconds to the car behind. I wonder where it sort of coalesces. Probably this pack eventually coalesces on him. So, there's that. Oh, here comes Brown again to the inside.
I think Nato Braun looking to try and redeem his race after it was looking so good in the early stages, leading for a brief period of time. He's now running in 5th. Oh, as he nearly collides with Graham Rory Hunt on the exit at turn number 1. Really close quarter stuff between this pack of cars. I wonder if they're going to fan out 3 wide as well as they head their way through turn number 4. Certainly side-by-side racing at the front of the field with Fleming and Frattini duking it out. Fleming on the inside, Frattini on the outside. That's got to be Fleming jumping his way up into the race lead once again. Lots of wins for Thomas Fleming up to this point in the season, but it has been a little while since we saw him run in one of these races. So certainly returning off in good form with starting at the back now, running in the race lead, even if there was a little bit of drama to get there.
And that means there's not many laps to go. We'll be 14 out of 16 when we cross the line. And as I always say on any draft track, this is where it truly, truly matters. We have the 5, the 4, and the 1 all together in the train. Tom Bland, on his own, he'll be claiming that P4 at this rate. Brown, Rory Hunt, and Adis Polis are doing the sort of same battle among themselves. And Edmondson sort of gets away with it. Make it 3 to go. 4, 5 out of 6. I can count, and you know what comes after the 6, okay? You know what comes after the 6, people. Don't make me say it on stream. I'm too old for this. Fleming ahead. Going up the S's, but that rarely defines everything around here.
So as we get closer to the end of this race, I think everybody's going to turn up the wick just a little bit. The side-by-side racing once again going on. Thomas Fleming holds on to that top spot still. Frattini running over the curbs. Now the curbs heading off through the inner loop, you got to treat them as either an all or nothing sort of deal. You either have to avoid even looking at them, let alone touching them with a 10-foot pole, or you got to just slam into them, destroy your shock absorbers and your spine in the process. But if you just treat them with, like, kit gloves, if you go over them partially, you're going to get one side of the tires up in the air and you're probably going to spin your car around like a top. So I think that we've seen that already in this race with time running out. Contact made. Fleming chopping across the nose of Frattini. He's not going to like that one bit, and I can't blame him one bit either.
Thomas shouted, "Am I bad for that one?" the very second it happened on the mic. That was another sloppy move. If it's free, make it 3 strikes and he's out for good. Indeed, on this day. I mean, we've seen some unusual things running up in the front. Let me put it like that.
Time running out here in this race. The side-by-side racing looks like it's going to be going on between the 2 cars with the exact same paint scheme. So great news for us here on the broadcast booth. Frattini and Kendall now going to duke it out in that battle for the final 2 podium spots as Fleming is going to drive away if they don't get their act together here soon. Frattini actually going to use a drift and go to the outside of Fleming. Keep it going in a straight line with Fleming still holding on to that top spot. Time running out. The white flag going to be in the air for the final time in these broadcasted races with Thomas Fleming, who's been oh so dominant in the races that he has shown up throughout this season. Trying to hold on to the lead, and it looks like he is defending for his life.
Where are you now? That's what determines everything at a race at Watkins Glen. Oh, is it? Oh, no. Oh, no. Make that the first strike, buddy. Thomas Fleming with one more, and maybe this is the ending we all deserve. He apologises again in the chat, but make this a 2-car chase to the end. Run stunned to silence. Ronnie, you're here.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, so it's now a battle with Kendall and Fleming. At least we have one car with the same paint scheme as Kendall now taken out of this. Nothing that he really could have done in the midst of all that. I just heard some tires screeching. I think there's actually, no, I'm just very slow behind. I just finally heard what was going on in sim in my ears. As here we go, side by side. Fleming trying to look for the move on the outside of Kendall. Who's going to win out in this fight? You can give it to Fleming. He doesn't really fight that off too hard, does Kendall. So he's now holding on to that top spot for Fleming.
Keeping an eye on the battle third behind. Edo Brown manages to make it up to P4. He's likely going to be leading across the line, and it's very likely that Fleming is going to cross the line as our final race winner. Took a few out and possibly made a little bit of contact on the way up today, but you know, Watkins Glen causes these things to happen all of the time. And so, what can you really do? Welcome to the Thunderdome. It's a finish maybe that some of us deserve. Thomas Fleming wins the race over the line for Matt Kendall. Tom Bland holds that P3, and Neno Brown, I think, will hold him off for P4.
Yeah, I think that is just about the quintessential way for this race to go. Is it the finish that we deserved? I think the racing gods decided to say yes, it was. It's a good charge from the back from Fleming, but definitely some shenanigans to get there. But hey, it's, you know, yeah. I don't know. I've run out of the things to say. I've run my mouth long enough on these broadcasts, and sometimes for some people, if you hear one thing, it'll go in one ear and out the other. So better for me to just zip my mouth, collect my paycheck, and swiftly and abruptly move on.
End of an era for me and my career, certainly in many ways. I am a very, 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 very busy broadcaster, and this is one of the shortest races on my entire schedule. But this was a regular, and it got me into doing a lot of things that ended up taking me a whole lot further. So I'll always be thankful to Beatrice Yank and Frederick Surley and all the rest for the entire time. Our race finish results. It's Thomas Fleming leading over Matt Kendall, Tom Bland ahead of Nader Brown, Graham Rory Hunt, Aegis Parles, Dario Frattini, James Becker, Ian Griffiths and David Haynes, Kyle Morby, Frederick Surley, Jason Chen, Timothy Parker Raffle, Mag Edmondson, Fraser Smith, Xavier Loss and Ian Anderson. I strongly suggest that anyone that still loves these cars and wants to watch them, I will give a shout out to the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors League. I don't regularly work on it, so it's not even about that. But it's just about the fact that we're not going to see the Monday broadcast for a while. I don't really know what the Australians are doing in their SOF, but no one wants to wake up at that sort of time of day. I've seen some very, very high quality from them, though, and they race the same tracks as the schedule for the entire rest of the next season. So I don't have a link, I don't have a name, but you have the name. Go check them out. Ron's there. He knows the field very, very well. Let me put it like that. I have been through a lot. So have a lot of people here. Really, really, really been through a lot. And I will always remember the Mondays. And apparently it's not a never. Apparently I might get called back like the Avengers in a few seasons' time. But we'll definitely be taking one off at the very least. I'd like to thank everyone at home. I'd like to thank the sponsors. I'd like to thank Ron for making it every week there with me and getting through it all. Been a part of a very, very, very long road. See you all on the track no matter where it is.